Hi, everyone. I just wanted to get on here and go live for just a minute just to give you a little Monday motivation to get your Monday started, because I don't know if you're like me, but my Monday started off a little bit rough this morning, so I could use a little bit of motivation. So hopefully yours is going better. But I just wanted to let you know a little bit about a book that I'm reading that is awesome. It's called Superwoman RX. And if you know me, you know I love to read. I'm kind of one of those people that collects books. I don't always finish all of them. This one, though, I read through pretty much in one day. It's actually not that long. The first few chapters kind of go into the explanation, and then the rest is more of a plan, a meal plan, exercise plan, things like that. But what this book does is it goes through several different personality types and really focuses on a bio-individual plan for your body type, for your personality, for just the kind of person that you are. And I really like it because it's more of an integrated, functional, Eastern medicine, Western medicine, holistic approach. So it's not just a one-size-fits-all cookie cutter approach. So Dr. Batia, I hope I'm saying that right. She's trained in traditional medicine, functional medicine, integrated health, or integrated medicine, Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and Ayurveda, which I haven't really been as familiar with until reading some of her book. But, you know, something as I was reading this book, I started looking at some of these statistics that she cites. And I want to read a couple of these to you because I think it's very pertinent and very eye-opening, at least it was to me, to read and to realize, you know, just what people are kind of dealing with. So, especially women. So a couple of things that she talks about in here are women are they experience twice the rate of depression that men do, regardless of race or ethnic background. And from their teen years until around age 50, women are twice as likely to suffer from anxiety as men, according to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America. Another crazy thing is women are 2 to 4 times more likely to be diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome than men. Women also are more likely to experience difficulty falling asleep, right here, and staying asleep than men, and more likely to experience pain at night and to experience fatigue during the day. So that's according to the National Sleep Foundation poll. Also, according to Migraine Research Foundation, women make up 28 million of the more than 38 million reported migraine sufferers. So obviously that's more, you know, it's pretty heavily weighted on the women's side. And then nearly 11% of women in the United States, more than 6 million, experience infertility issues, according to the National Survey of Family Health. So anyway, so saying all those to say, those statistics, they just look a little dismal, I know. But, you know, as women, I think a lot of times we're trying to do it all, and we're trying to be Superwoman, and we're paying the price. So it's not necessarily a bad thing for us to have options, because we have more options now than we ever have before, to do more things, to be more things. Really, we have a lot of opportunities that maybe our grandparents didn't have, and that's great. However, I think it's something that we also need to be aware of and cautious of as women, to not take on too much, to not basically put ourselves in a position where we're putting so much stress on ourselves and not choosing our health, to where we end up in some serious health and medical conditions. I know personally that was my story. I think I've shared this before, but my body basically told me I needed to stop because I would not stop, and I wouldn't ask for help, and I wouldn't take care of myself. And so I basically had to stop when my body started shutting down and giving me panic attacks and anxiety, to basically say, look, we're tired, we're done, we can't do this anymore. So so I want to help people and you avoid that. And it's actually interesting because Dr. Batia's story in this book is actually kind of similar to that, where she just kind of got to the end of her rope, and got to the end of her rope with trying to figure out answers from a traditional medicine side. And so started looking at more alternative therapies, which is really similar to what I did and what I found has really been beneficial. So 3 things I want us to just ask ourselves this week, just for your Monday motivation. I know that those statistics don't seem very motivating, but I just want us to start thinking about and start being more intentional with what it is that we're saying yes to. What is it that you're saying yes to? And on the same end of that, if you're saying yes to something, what are you saying no to? Someone told me one time, when you say yes to something, you're also saying no to something else. So if you say yes to, I don't know, attending an event, or taking on a new project, or taking on something new, that's fine. But what are you going to have to say no to in order to have that kind of balance in your life? And if you don't say no to those other things, that's where we start getting into kind of that stress cycle where we start kind of going downhill. So so think about that. When you are saying yes to something, that's fine, but what are you going to have to say no to? And what do you want to say yes to? So be intentional about your yes. Sometimes as women especially, I think sometimes we say yes to things that we may not really want to do. We just feel like we should do, or we're supposed to do, or just other people have expectations of us. And so we feel like we have to meet those expectations when it's really not something that serves us best and serves the life that we want best. So being intentional about that and being intentional about your yes is really important too. So go ahead, and if you're watching the replay or watching it live, whatever, in the comments, tell me what do you want to say yes to? What are some things in your life that you want to say yes to right now? It could be family, it could be your career, it could be a specific goal that you have, it could be your health that you're wanting to make more of a priority. But go ahead and let me know what is it in your life that you want to say yes to, and protect that. As you're going through life, as you're going through your day and your priorities, be sure you're considering those things that you want to say yes to. And along the same lines of that, with priorities, what is it that you want? What priorities do you want? And are those priorities reflected in your schedule? So one thing I have found really beneficial for me and really beneficial for others is to sit down for a second, maybe just right now, and make a list of 5 priorities that you have in your life. So that could be, it could be God, that could be your spiritual life, that could be your family, your relationships with friends, it could be your career, could be your health and wellness, whatever those things are, your top 5 priorities, those things in your life that matter most to you. Write those things down. And once you have those things down, take a second. If you want to put those in the comments here, go ahead and do that too, because I'd like to hear, what your priorities are. Those ones that I just listed, those were actually mine. But take a second after you get your list of priorities and look at your calendar and your bank statements. You might think, well, what does that have to do with my priorities? Well, I'm glad you asked. So look at your calendar and look at the events that you have scheduled. Look at the plans that you've made. Look at the activities you've signed your family up for. Look at whatever it is that you have going on. Do those things reflect those top 5 priorities that you have for yourself? Do they reflect the kind of person that you want to be? Does it reflect the kind of family that you want to be? And this isn't to bring judgment. This isn't a judgment thing at all. I really encourage you to kind of just approach it with curiosity. Like, I wonder what my schedule looks like and what it reflects. And I wonder how I might change that if it doesn't line up with my priorities to fit more into what it is that I want to do and who it is that I want to be. Same with bank statements. You know, that's kind of a hot button for some people, but look at your bank statements. What are you spending your money on? What is it that a lot of times our money can tell us a lot about the kind of person we are and what our priorities actually are. This is kind of something interesting too, is if you look at your bank statements or your calendar and, you say your priorities are this, but when in actuality, all these other things, you might kind of rethink, like, what are your priorities really? What's my life actually reflecting? And like I said, not in a judgment sort of a way, because judgment really doesn't serve anyone very well. But start thinking about, okay, well, if this is not what I want, and this is not the priorities that I want to have in my life, then what are? And how can I change that? And take just one small step. It doesn't have to be everything. Take one thing maybe off of your calendar for this week. So in the comments too, if you're watching this in the replay or watching this live, tell me, what is it that you want to take off of your calendar? Or what is it that you maybe want to stop spending money on that you feel like doesn't really line up with your priorities? So let me know what those things are. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention real quick is self-care. So self-care is something that I think we hear a lot about. It's kind of a buzzword right now, but it's so important, especially for us women who do have this tendency to feel like we have to be Superwoman for everyone else. And so sometimes we feel like we have to take care of everyone else, and we kind of get put on the back burner. And that's not good, because, I'm sure you guys have all heard the analogy is if you're flying in an airplane, you always put on your oxygen mask before you put on someone else's. So, and that's true, whether that's in an airplane or in life, because if you're not being filled up and you're constantly giving and giving and giving, there comes a point where you're not going to be able to give anymore. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but eventually you're going to burn out and you're not going to be able to give anymore. And I don't want you to do that, because I've been there, and I don't want that for anyone. So tomorrow, actually, on the blog, I'm going to be sharing some tips for self-care and some different things and ideas for you to maybe start practicing self-care if you're not already practicing self-care, or just some encouragement, maybe some new ideas if you already are. Kudos to you. But self-care can be really anything. It can be as small as making healthy choices for food. It can be choosing to exercise, 4 or 5 days a week. It could be choosing to go to bed 20 minutes early so that you have time to read or to relax or do some restorative yoga. It could be, something a little bit larger, like taking a weekend for yourself once, every quarter, or, maybe even just once a year. But just taking a weekend to where you have time to kind of recharge. That's something really important for me as an introvert. I need that time just alone by myself, and I know I need that. And so it's important for me to take that time and to let my husband know, let my family know. It's nothing against y'all, but I just need some time alone. And they understand that, and they get that. So maybe it's just voicing something like that. But whatever it is, take time this week to kind of make a list of some things that maybe would be good self-care action items for you. Or in the comments right now, if you already do some self-care, I'd love to hear kind of what sort of self-care you do. like I said, some of those things that I mentioned were things that I do. I have a, bedtime routine that I stick to pretty much no matter what, that I write down things that I'm thankful for, and things, just positive things that have happened throughout the day, just to kind of keep my focus on that at the end of the day, and that's what I go to bed to. But that's a self-care thing for me. It helps me sleep better. It helps me just kind of keep my focus on the positive. Also, just, again, making healthy choices with food and things that are high energy foods and things that are going to help me feel my best, that I consider self-care. And so we'll talk a little bit on the blog about some of people's hang-ups with self-care. One of those being, well, isn't that just really selfish? To take all that time for yourself. How can you do that? I mean, aren't you just taking time away from your family? So stay tuned for that and check out the blog tomorrow, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So if you really want to be a superwoman, try tapping into those 3 things that we just talked about. So making sure you know what you're saying yes to, and know what you're saying no to, and being intentional about your yes, making sure that you know what you want, making sure that you know what your priorities are, and that your priorities are reflected in what it is that you're doing. And then practicing self-care and being intentional about practicing self-care on a regular basis. And again, check out the blog tomorrow. We'll have some tips and things for you there. Also, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'll have different things in there sometimes about self-care and just healthy living that might be helpful to you. And before we go, I want to be sure and tell you real quick about one great thing that you can do for yourself, is our Jump Into July challenge that's going to be starting on July 2nd, Monday, July 2nd. And that's going to be an awesome time just to connect with other women, to get a jump start on our health goals, to start moving more. The challenge is to move more every day, Monday through Friday. We take the weekends off, but we're going to move more, and whatever more looks like to you. It's not strict or militaristic or anything. I'm not going to, make you do CrossFit or anything. Not that there's anything wrong with CrossFit, but I'm not going to make you do anything like that if you don't want to. It's basically enjoyable movement, and you figuring out what kind of enjoyable movement you want to do. And so if you join our challenge, we'll have that. I'm going to have some weekly Facebook Live mini coaching sessions, kind of like this, to where we're going to talk about some different things, give you some encouragement. I'll be sharing some resources and things that I have that I think will be really helpful. So if you want to join that challenge, it's totally free. There's no multi-level marketing. There's no, anything like that. It's just a great way for you to get a jump start on your health. And I'm really excited about offering it to people. So if you want to join that, I'm going to put the link in the comments, so you can go ahead and join there. I think I also have a post on here about that as well. And you can also go on our Instagram and find the link there in the profile. So anyway, I am so excited, and I am excited to hear about how you tap into your inner superwoman this week, and just take the time for yourself that is much needed. So anyway, I hope you have a great week, and I will see you soon.